everyone, and welcome to this lovely conversation for the Mulan opening weekend. My name is Dino Ray Ramos. I'm an associate editor at Deadline. And today we have a wonderful, iconic, mind you, panel here for you today from the original animated feature Mulan to talk to us about the animated feature as well as the live action feature, which you probably just watched on Disney Plus. So I would like to introduce this lovely panel. So let's get started. First off, I want to introduce the voice of Mulan, Ming-Na Wen. Welcome.
Hey Dino, how are you doing?
Hey Ming-Na. We also have the singing voice of Mulan, Miss Leia Salonga.
Hi Dino, how are you doing?
Hi Leia.
Hi Ming.
And we have the legendary, mind you, who played Chifu, the advisor, who was kind of a bad guy in the animated feature, but he was so much fun. We have the legendary James Hong.
Oh, gee, thank you. What a great introduction. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun, right? From all the silly chatter before this.
I know, yeah, we've said everything already that we needed to say.
Well, to one another we have, but
yes,
not to our lovely audience. And
yeah, we're
have fun
warmed.
Keeping us reined in.
we're warmed up and ready to go. We've already, you know, we're
caffeinated. Well, one of us is caffeinated, so.
I actually just had coffee about an hour ago. That was my first coffee of the day, and it's night here.
Oh dear.
You'll be
I don't know what my problem is.
So Dino, question. I know this is the Gold Houses. The audience is mainly Gold Houses. Am I right?
No, it's anyone who wanted to join in. Like they invited anyone who watched Mulan this weekend because it's opening weekend, just to kind of, you know, make this all about Mulan. Because why else? You know, it's like Mulan came out on September 4th, and it's Beyonce's birthday. So those are two great things to celebrate.
Wow.
Two, like they're one and the same, right?
They're both very strong, badass women.
Very iconic and powerful women. Very iconic and very important stories. But you know, I want to start off, you know, how long ago has it been since Mulan, the animated feature? 1998.
Wow.
It seems like, you know,
right.
Sounds about right.
Well, that's when it was released, but we've all been working on it at least 3 or 4 years prior to the release of it.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask about that. When y'all first started, when the conversation started happening about Mulan, this story that to mainstream people, probably no one's really even heard of it. And it is a legendary story. But when you first heard that, you know, Disney was making this and, you know, it came across your desk and, you know, you got the role, what was the feeling back then? We could start with Ming-Na.
Well, I mean, I grew up with the folklore, you know, it's a very famous Chinese folklore. And in fact, it's quite a serious, dark story about this young woman, you know, going into battle and trying to honor her family. And it was surprising to me at first. And I thought Disney at that time, especially, was extremely brave to want to take on this endeavor and have this Chinese story be told. And I think what came out of it, you know, is so universal that it doesn't matter where it came from. It's just about a young girl trying to discover her potential. And that's, you know, that was exciting when I read the script and realized how they were able to translate a folklore into something that's very Disney and yet honors the original story.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Leia? You know, when you signed on to this project?
Oh, I signed on in 1995, something like that. I actually auditioned for it when there was another composer that was attached to it. So the song that I auditioned with does not appear anywhere except I think in a Mulan Junior version. And I was on a Disney cruise with him, with Steven Schwartz, and we actually got to perform the song together. So I was just like, okay, I'm really, really happy. But yeah, I signed on in 95. That's when I traveled to LA from New York to record Reflection. And the thing about that song is that it just continued to evolve as the story and the script would continue to evolve. And so there would be changes in melody, there would be changes in lyric, even changes in length of the song. It used to be twice as long. But for story, so in concert, I sing the whole thing. Because, of course, yeah.
And I've heard you sing it.
Yeah, you have heard me sing it.
So, she's amazing in concert. Amazing.
Oh,
of course.
And her fans love her.
Much fun, and it's just so much fun to do because it's not something that is recorded.
Well, how long?
Yeah, I totally.
How long is the whole thing that you just said?
It's just about twice as long, like 3 minutes and something. And
like a regular song should be.
Yeah, like a regular song.
It has extra verses, right? It has like
there's just like an extra, like a couple of extra verses, and the chorus goes through one more time. But yeah, but I mean, for storytelling purposes, it absolutely made sense to do what needed to be done. It's like, you know what, we have to service the story and we need to service the film. And if it means,
which meant don't use my singing voice at all.
Come on, Ming-Na, let's hear. Let's give us a couple.
I could do a little lullaby and maybe sing a couple of pop songs. You know, maybe Beyonce out a little bit, but yeah, no.
It is her birthday.
But for you, James, how was it like for you, you know, when you first signed on to this, or when you first even heard that they were making this animated feature based on this timeless folklore, the Chinese folklore?
Yeah, well, like Ming-Na, you know, it's we heard these things way back when I was in Minneapolis. That's where I was born. My mother would play, you know, because she couldn't speak English, so she would play those operas and tell us stories. Of course, the name was Fa Mulan, and now it's Hua Mulan. I guess
that's the Mandarin. That's Mandarin.
Amen.
That's 普通话.
普通话
James.
花木兰啊，
花
木兰啊。
对呀，花木兰係 Cantonese 花木蘭啊。
Okay,
anyway.
So now we're having a language lesson, everyone. So pay attention. There'll be a
so
quiz.
So in Cantonese, it's one thing, and in Mandarin, it's a totally different thing.
A slight change sometimes, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, no, it's the same letter. Hua is a flower. Mu, wood. Lan is that flower. You know. So.
Yeah. Yeah. The written language is the same. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the pronunciation and tones and yeah.
But now we have to call it Hua Mulan. Is that it or not?
普通话.
Sure.
This generation that are, you know, of kids that are going to watch this are going to identify her as Hua, as
really?
Hua Mulan. We're going to be like, it's Fa Mulan. So I'm like, okay, so 1998, it was. Yeah,
1998, it was Fa.
And in 2020, it's Hua.
It's Hua.
But yeah, they should make it interesting to dub it in Chinese.
Yeah. They're both correct, though. They're both
getting
correct.
back to that, you know, having heard the Chinese operas, and because, you know, that's kind of interesting. In Minneapolis, we don't have Chinese operas because there's not enough Chinese there to sing the operas, right? So my father is the head of the Hip Sing Tong, and so he would hire the Chinese opera group from San Francisco, and they have to travel by train. Wow. I don't know by plane if they fly or not, but all the way to my father's store, which is our family lived upstairs and the store was downstairs, so we can't help but hear that Chinese opera. You know, of course we would love to go downstairs and listen to all that stuff. You know, So you grow up hearing that.
Leia, take it away with that one.
Take it away, Leia.
You better, otherwise you're going to suffer. Thank you, Ming-Na. Thank you.
Hey, I do have to say, James, one of my favorite moments in the animated Mulan is when your character announces all the different families to come forward and get the conscription notice, you know, and you would because that's an Easter egg in the animated film. My family's name, you know, is in it, the Wen family. My real father's name, the Yi family. Like they added like a couple of little Easter eggs in there.
Oh, really?
And James got to
yeah, well, I love it. I don't remember the exact line, but when I said something like, you know, keep your place, is a man's world, you know, and Mulan goes like that. It's one of the best things I have seen, and I could see, you know, Ming-Na just kind of shirking away while she's dubbing, I hope. So it was a lot of fun dubbing that scene. So then, you know, but unfortunately, that character and myself as an actor is not in the movie. So I don't know why I'm here, really.
No, you're
no, we're here to talk about the animated.
Yeah, we're here to talk about the animated, and you pretty much, everyone in this call pretty much paved the way for this to happen. I mean, actually, it's like 22 years later since the release of the animated film, and the character of Mulan still resonates. And I even would argue that it probably resonates even louder today than ever. You know, why do you think her story kind of continues to resonate audiences across generation after generation after generation? And not just because, you know, it's an Asian story, but like how it's a universal story. Ming-Na, you want to start there?
Well, you know, when I see these fans at these conventions, one of the greatest joys is to be able to not just meet the mom, but, you know, the mom who grew up with Mulan, and now she has her own family, and she brings her kids, you know, and they've seen the movie and love it. There is just this incredible connection that people have to Mulan's story, because one, it's about family, it's about loving your parents in a way where you want to protect them as much as they're protecting you. And then ultimately it's about a young girl trying to fit in, you know, and I think we've all grown up with that. And that's why so many people identify with her. You know, we're all trying to fit in. We're all trying to figure out what our capabilities are, what our potential is. And you know, and the best thing, the dream for all of us is that we find the hero or the heroine in ourselves. And, you know, and that's the kind of the takeaway with Mulan's story, is that if you just follow your heart, if you just believe in yourself and you believe in your truth, that you will be the hero or heroine of your own story. And I think that's, you know, that's sort of like a forever story for everyone.
Yeah, this story it's just one of those that it's a legend, that the poem is that the folklore is over 1,000 years old. It says something. I think it's a good thing to talk about, that even back then there is a story of someone who was this courageous and also trying to figure herself out. I mean, this woman goes on this journey of self-discovery. I mean, you know, we see that she travels and that she makes the decision she makes to take her father's sword and don his armor in wanting to protect him. And this is something that it has in common with the live action. But it ends up being a story of self-discovery, and that through each point in the film, in either film, she learns a little bit more about who she is. And it's something that resonates with so many young women, that on Halloween, and I'm sure at conferences and gatherings, when people are in cosplay mode, there are people of all different races that wear that costume. And it's like, there's something about her story that resonates with kids of every age and every race. It's one of my friends who's a playwright and composer said, the more specific you get, the more universal something becomes. And this is a very Chinese story. It's a very Asian story, but its themes of family and figuring out oneself, they resonate with everybody.
Yeah. I mean, even like the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
There are kids that come up to me and they are crying because for them, you know, it's sort of like an extra perk of the story, you know, that I don't think Disney even, you know, that wasn't their objective. But the fact that there was a girl, you know, and then she becomes a boy and she, you know, she fights, they were able to take some of that image and hold on to it as their own, you know, that it represented them in some way. And it's just, you know, it's incredible what.
I have a lot of gay friends that said that Reflection was kind of like a sort of unofficial gay anthem. That here's this woman who looks at her seriously. That there's here she is looking at her reflection in the water, and the lyrics are what a lot of members of the LGBTQ community also asks themselves. I mean, that's not. It's obviously not the intent of the song and the story.
No.
Per se, but in the words and in the music, they find themselves totally hit in the gut by what she is trying to figure out about herself.
James, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think when I first saw the film, the graphics just was so outstanding. You couldn't take your eyes off the screen because they used this a combination of the Chinese calligraphy and the typographic drawings and marry it together with the so-called American cartoonist animation. It was just, you couldn't take your eyes off the screen. And on top of that, you know, you have the story of this young girl doing these crazy things and then come out the winner. You know, how can you miss with a theme like that? Up to that point, you have to admit there were no other stories of Asian Americans or Asians, period, that shows a little girl, a winner. That was the first of its kind. So I think that hit the audience. Yeah.
What's really great, though, is that both movies, you know, it really stands on their own as far as being, you know, a story about the same character.
True.
And I love that Disney took that risk, too. You know, that they wanted to honor the animation by having so many little aspects of like these iconic moments, but then, you know, or images like like the Huns coming down the mountains or them training, but then still be its own thing. So I think they succeeded greatly.
Yeah, I think I really like what you guys said about the LGBTQ community, and I think it's just the figure of Mulan kind of represents someone who's always been told what they can't do, right?
That's right.
And you know, I think especially now in the climate we're living in, it's like it's important to recognize your self-worth. And like when in 1998, you know, when this was released, you know, I actually kind of think it was a little bit ahead of its time, if I'm being totally honest with you. And you know, this character who's been around for like thousands of years has been just, you know, this icon, and now that's introduced to the masses, it kind of it just like sparks like this movement, I guess you would say.
But a lot of that is credited to the people behind the cameras. You know, I mean, we have Rita Shaw, who, you know, was one of the writers for it, and Barry Cook and Tony Bancroft and Pam Coates. They were the directors and producers. They really painstakingly spent almost 2 years doing research and you know, trying to figure out the best way to tell this story and showcase it, you know, with the animation. So a lot of credit really goes to them.
On that Yi Fei, is that how you pronounce her name? Yi Fei, star?
Yeah.
Looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, right. And she's very, very good, obviously.
Yes.
But did she learn martial arts, or was she very well versed in that to begin with? Because
I think she was.
Good.
Well, yeah, I think that's like going into my next question. I want to talk to Ming Na. Have you met with Yi Fei? Like, did you meet with her beforehand? Did y'all, like, now y'all are a part of this club where y'all are the only two people ever in America to play Mulan? But did you meet with her? And did you give her any advice or kind of like talk with her?
I wouldn't do that. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
In fact, when I did meet her, it was in New Zealand when I was snuck off to fly there and you know, put in my little cameo.
Yeah.
So literally, I pretty much like finished work on a Friday. My daughter Michaela and we flew out to New Zealand, and as soon as we landed, we were doing hair and makeup tests, costume. Putting on, you know, the costume. We went through 3 different changes with the hair and the makeup to figure out what, it was insane. And we were trying to do the PR. So literally that scene was shot with like guerrilla filmmaking style speed. And it was quite a whirlwind. So
it's
so
a huge payoff. It's a huge payoff when you come on that screen. Like when we went to the premiere,
and reflection. I'm walking down with.
I know.
Your song.
It's I know. I'm like, reflection is in this so much more than it was originally. I'm like, yes. Thank you.
I wish I was that much in demand.
You are in demand, James. You are.
Oh, James, forget about it.
Yeah, well,
you know, James played my dad in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Speaking of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Easter eggs.
Why didn't you have me back?
Yes.
I thought we were terrific as a team.
Yes, I know. I don't know why you were called back, but
no, but I think with your cameo, with your cameo at the end, I remember at the premiere when you walked on the screen, when kind of the camera showed you, the audience erupted.
Thank goodness. No, seriously. You know how, like, okay, the Asians and all of us, we still always have a little bit of that insecurity thing going on the inside, right? So I'm sitting there going, oh gosh, I hope people recognize me. Okay. Oh, God, I hope this moment don't like just go by, fall flat, nobody notices. I was just like so worried about it. And then so when there was that cheer, I was so happy.
Yeah, no, easy to recognize.
Yeah.
And then there's that voice. It's like, oh, if nobody knew who she was the minute she opened her mouth, I'm like, oh! Then that's it.
I want to talk to James. James, you know, we were like singing your praises. You are one of the most prolific Chinese American actors with over 600 credits to your name. You're one of the founders of East West Players, the first Asian American theater troupe in the U.S. You know, and you are, you know, this. I keep on saying you're a legend because you are this trailblazer and you're this pioneer who paved the way for a lot of Asian Americans and Asians in Hollywood. How have you seen Asian representation on screen evolve over your career, and what does it mean to you to have a film like Mulan, even the animated and the live action, out in the world today?
Well, I think I started in 1953. You know, I luckily got onto the Groucho Marx show and then got a.
Oh my gosh!
You're right.
Wow, that's awesome.
Probably the only living actor that has ever worked with Groucho Marx. You know,
that's nuts.
And so
wonderful.
And luckily I did all those impersonations on his show And right away, an agent picked me up and put me into movies. But I was actually studying and graduating from USC to become a civil engineer. But, like all of you, you love show business so much, you just gave up the other career and became an actor. But however, in all those movies I did in the early part of my career, they were all what I would say gimmick roles. They put it in there because they needed a so-called Chinaman or a kid to be rescued by the white guys, whether it's Gunsmoke or Have Gun Will Travel. I don't care what it is, in fact, it was in a Disney film, the original black and white Zorro, that I was a prince in the jail, and this big, pardon me, big guy in Zorro come and talk to me in the jail and rescue me. That black and white, can mind you. So back in those days, there were no roles that were so-called non-cliche. So it was tough. You wanted to do something, you tell your agent, well, get me a regular role as an American citizen, a man or a young man that needed in society because he is an American Asian. But no, the whole industry didn't pay any attention. So I got together with Mako in my little basement. Some of you can remember Mako. And, we said, we got to do something, something. We can't be just in this niche, in this slot of being just a yellow face. So he suggested we do a theater piece called Rashomon.
Wow.
And he's very good in that. I wish we taped that. He was so good. And got good reviews. And then that's the beginning, small seed in the soil. Says, oh, the Asian American actors can act, other than those little so-called Japanese roles and Chinese roles as the villain or the kid that's being rescued. That slowly got to where it is now. Thousands of people come through there, and graduates have gotten good roles, and East West Players, APA, many organizations that I joined to fight for the rights of the Asian American actors. And look at it now, here I am, 91, and I see now the flowers of that blooming, crazy rich American Asians, and all these Farewell, and the Korean actors are joining in with their Academy Awards. So you can see it blossoming, and it's going to explode. Crazy. It's going to explode in the next few years. No doubt about it, because Korea, Japan, China, with all their films, and this Mulan now starts a whole new movement now. I think it's going to start, the writers will look for scripts to do this kind of production, and producers will too. I hope everybody looking at this program will go see it, so that, Disney will know that such films can be successful.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was emotional. That was an emotional.
That was crazy.
Yeah, it's just
James,
so amazing.
It blows my mind. You're 91. What the hell?
I know, you look 30.
Holy moly. I hope I have your energy. I swear.
I know, me too.
When you said that, I was just like, what?
Really?
I had to clock that a little bit. Wow.
Well, also, James, Daniel Day Kim recently, there was this very vocal campaign of, getting a star for you on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and having someone do that for you, or just having that, kind of support and this kind of bolstering from the community. What does that mean to you?
Well, it happened so suddenly. I didn't know what was going on, because all of a sudden, I think my daughter told me, hey, I think there's an actor named Daniel Day Kim, on that You Funded or whatever,
Yes, GoFundMe.
Yeah, I said, well, I don't want to lower myself and beg for money, But so I called him, and he says, and at that time, I think it was 2 days after he started. I didn't know he started. He says, oh, I sent you an email telling you so. I look in the trash and there it was. You know, but at that time he already had, I think, 18,000. I said, that's pretty good. People,
no, really, James, that's how much, you know, your fan base and the Asian community or any community, I think, just your fans, I don't even think they have to be Asian. They love you that much. Literally, the money that was needed was raised in, I would say, like
less
5 days.
No, only 3 days.
3 days. In 3 days. Yes, you know, I mean, Daniel, it was fantastic. He just like put the feelers out to all of us and wanted us to, you know, post it, retweet it, you know, donate, and that's how much love you have.
Yeah, I'm gonna go off of what Ming-Na was saying. Is like, when I wrote a story about it, and you know, it's the Asian community was there, but like Ming-Na said, it was everyone, like Black, white, you know, Latino. Everyone was like, oh, why doesn't this man have a star already? So,
exactly.
yeah.
Well, it's for everybody, for all of you. You know, Ming-Na, Leia, there's so many talented American Asians that deserve the star. But a lot of my friends, you know, have dropped out of the profession because there's no roles, you know. And now there seems to be a few more, but there's still a long, long ways to go, you know. However, as far as the stars, I don't have the star yet. We have the 55,000, but it's just sitting there waiting, I think, in May or June for the Chamber of Commerce of Hollywood to say, well, should we give him a star?
We'll pick it. We'll go out there. We'll go out there and pick it.
Yeah, we will.
Oh, wow.
We're there for you, James. We got you. We got you.
So I think
that's got to happen. That really has to.
We'll have to do some kind of announcement during that time to the Chamber of Commerce and say, hey, Hollywood, pay some attention. You know, I'm here. I'm still alive.
Yeah. Just by the breadth of his work alone. I mean, come on. Come on now, Hollywood. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. So
what can I do? However, the something a good may also come from this is that the Guinness Book of Records is going to put me in there, I think.
Wow!
As the guy with the most credits, you know, 600. I'll put it there.
That's so good. That is so crazy. Wow.
Oh my God, so excited for you, James.
Yeah.
So again, you're an icon. You're an icon. But you know, we're kind of running down here a little bit. But I do want to ask, you know, what this is for everyone. What are you most excited for audiences to experience when they see Mulan, and what kind of message do you want audiences to take from the film? Ming-Na, we could start with you.
I think if you're a fan of Mulan, you will definitely love this film. It has so much action, such incredible visual experience that, you know, Nikki Caro did a tremendous job in making this film heartwarming, but as well as honoring the animation. So I think you're just gonna take away with it a sense of strength and hope that you know, you can be whoever you want to be, and don't let anyone bring you down and tell you that you can't follow your dreams and achieve what you need to achieve.
Leia, what about you?
Okay. Where will I even begin?
You're going to go away singing Reflection. No.
Yeah.
Because it keeps repeating itself so much in the film. So as you hear it so many more times in the live action, you know, in this new movie than you ever did. I probably would have had to sing it in concert about 20 times to get the equivalent amount. But, you know, no, but seriously speaking, I mean, there's so much to take away. I mean, when I was watching it, I saw, I don't know how many generations of Asian and Asian American, just the talent.
Yeah.
The talent. And just, I mean, there was
international.
It's international. It's Yifei, it's Yoson, it's Jason Scott Lee. I'm like, that's Jason Scott Lee. I'm screaming because we know him from playing Bruce Lee. It's like, what the heck am I watching? And then there's Gong Li.
Don't forget, Gong Li. Oh my God, she's so beautiful.
I had to. I knew. What movie did I see her in? Farewell, My Concubine might have been the first movie I saw her in, and there was another one where she was playing a Chinese actress. And there was so much attention to detail. I can't remember the name of that movie, but I'm sure I'm going to go into IMDb now and stalk her. But
and my Joy Luck Club girl, Rosalind.
Rosalind.
Oh my God!
And Tai Ma, who I did Flower Drum Song with at the Taper. So there are so many. There's how many generations of Asian and Asian American talent in the film, and every one of these people has, is able to then thank all of the other actors that have been through all of these hard times for a moment like this to happen. So people like James and George and James Shigeta, that there are so many generations of Asian and Asian American actors in Hollywood that kind of paved the way for this Mulan to be possible. So that's the one takeaway, and I'm just like crying because of all of these, because of the casting. And my friend Hoon Lee, who played the King in The King and I on Broadway, is actually the guy that now announces the names in the Village. So he was also in Banshee. I think he played. He bald, skinny guy, but thankfully not so skinny anymore. So I'm cheering.
Watch how you say that.
No, Hoon's normally a big guy. So yeah. And two, yes, there is homage to the original animated feature, which is wonderful, but there are so many points in which it takes paths of its own, where there are decisions made by Nikki Caro that totally makes sense, given that this film is it's being released in 2020, and as each of these things is happening, I'm like, oh, they went this way with her. I'm like, oh, they went this way with her. They went that way with her, and it absolutely made total sense. And I found myself at points saying, oh, they went back to the original source material for that moment, and it was so gratifying that they took that amount of that it wasn't just replicating the original movie. It's just such a beautiful, heartwarming story of this young girl on her own journey. It's beautifully shot. The cinematography is ridiculous. It's just, I think it's something that will give.
That's the one thing. The one thing that I'm sad about, with COVID, that the audience can't experience this visual feast on a big screen.
True.
And to experience it, there's nothing like experiencing it in a movie. I love movies. I love in the cinema with other people.
Yeah, there's an energy.
Who are also, it's so weird because like my husband, not to get off point, but my husband, he's a huge sports fan, and he was just like, I'm just not enjoying watching, this whatever the sport. I don't, because I'm not.
Watching sports.
I'm like, why aren't you enjoying it? You're just watching to see who scores, right? And he's like, no, without the audience, it's just not as much fun. I'm like, you're just watching it on a TV. He's like, it's different. It's different without the audience,
without the crowd cheering.
Without, yes.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that I hope that this makes Disney a lot of money so that they can re-release it on the big screen.
Gosh. It does really deserve a theatrical release.
I think it will. I'm almost certain that it's going to be shown on IMAX, big screens. I would love to see it in the ArcLight Dome.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, yes. It will be great. But James, how about you? What do you hope people take away from this experience, this film?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me and to be with these beautiful women in front of me. I can see you, but like you say, too bad it's not in person. And Mingna, I love your long hair, very, very beautiful.
Because no one's cut it.
No one's cut it. Me neither. So, Leah, this is the first time I've been on a show with you. You know, I hope it important to many other things. Aside from being a woman power movie and getting some of the material from our original animated feature, this is a martial arts movie. It incorporates a lot of the old kung fu movies I've seen long ago into the American movies. And, you know, with all that fighting by, so, you know, all you people who love martial arts and will love Donnie Yen and Jet Li.
Oh, Donnie Yen!
Yeah, right. He was great.
Yes.
Wasn't he great, though? As you know.
Oh, he's so good. He's still so handsome. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
He was wonderful in that that role. You know, he was very natural. In fact, he drew me into the movie almost more than anybody else. You know, and my friend Rosalind Chow was in it. Tai Ma was very good. Ma.
I love Tai.
Yeah.
He
made me cry.
Yeah.
He made me cry. Yeah.
He did all those emotional parts. You know, I must say, Ming Na, you know, this lady here, what is her name? Yi Fei, right?
Yi Fei.
Yeah, Yi Fei.
It's
Yeah.
very, very, very good. And that martial arts sequence by Donnie Yen, wow! When he was in that
just
parade.
so good,
right?
Just so good. Just such a. And I saw him in Rogue One. First of all, it's a Star Wars movie. Number two, it's Donnie Yen in a Star Wars movie.
Yes.
So there's that, and then
the Force
you see
is with
him
me.
and his.
I'm one with the Force.
He's such a badass. It's amazing. He's so good. He's so good.
Now, does he
if nobody knew him then, they'll know him now.
Does he speak English that well all the time? He spoke very good English, huh?
Yeah. Wasn't he brought up in like Boston or something? He was
something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
He grew up here.
Yeah. But you know, he's so funny too. He kind of reminds me a little of you, James, where like, you know, that final cameo scene, and I was really nervous and I wanted to make sure, and I'm like, oh, Donnie's done a lot of these kind of like period pieces too, right? I thought. So I went up to him and I was like, hey, Donnie, you know, and we spoke some Cantonese with each other. And I was like, so how do you think I should bow in front of the emperor? What do you think is like the appropriate, like authentic, you know, traditional bow? And he just went, 我唔知道啊. he's like, I don't know.
Do you speak Mandarin too, or just Cantonese?
I speak both. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gee, how come? How come you're so well versed in Mandarin if you're Cantonese? Where are your parents from?
My mom is from Suzhou.
Yeah.
So she spoke Shanghainese, you know,
Really?
Suzhou dialect and Putonghua. Yeah, and my father was Toisan, my stepfather.
Oh, I'm from Toisan. Wow, maybe we're cousins.
Oh, look at that!
They
go together.
你講喺台山話，你曉講我哋台山話嘛？
聽得到，聽得到。
Yeah. Language lesson. Leia, my parents are Ilocano.
Okay, I know nothing about that dialect at all. I'm from Manila, born in Manila, raised for the most part in Manila, so I'm Tagalog.
Tagalog.
Yeah, with the Philippines being an archipelago of 7,000 plus islands. Yeah, you can have two islands. Just not too far away from one another, and have these
totally
completely different dialects and not understand each other.
Yeah.
This is a challenging country to unite. I'll just say that, but just on a geographical basis alone, it's a difficult country.
Yeah, I was there in Manila making Missing in Action with Chuck Norris, and it's a wonderful country.
I'm curious now about Chuck Norris. Is he as big of a badass as people claim him to be? Because it's like there's so many Chuck Norris memes all over the internet about how tough he is. Is he exactly like that?
Yeah, well, he does all these exercise things now, you know. He sells a lot of exercising machines. Yes.
He looks, yeah, like
Yeah, no, he's
the
very
late
good.
night infomercials.
Nice guy, you know. He's so genuine, you know. He doesn't
Aw,
pretend to be
that's
anybody
good.
else. And his
Yeah.
So
martial
nice.
arts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've worked
so-
with his son. Yeah, Eric.
Oh, yeah?
He's a stunt coordinator. So
Oh,
yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Oh,
So a lot of history.
yeah.
That's a good way to kind of close it out, talking about Chuck Norris. No,
Close it out. We're just starting. We're just starting to talk. Why do you want to close this out? What's the matter with you? Do we
Really?
have to
It's
pay
been an
rent or
hour?
something?
It's almost been an hour. We're
Yeah.
almost
Oh,
running
that's
on an hour
crazy.
here.
I thought you
Dude,
said we're going to have a party. Where's the party?
It's here.
Where's the food? I
He
thought
knows
you
the
were
party all by
there.
himself.
I thought
Prince
you're
is
going to have
here.
food delivered to us, you know, and then we eat and talk and, you know.
I got some. Yeah.
Hey,
Um, no, but
well.
you know, I think just to like speaking for me, and I guess for a lot of people, it's like Mulan in 1998 kind of just paved this. You know, I look at it now as a moment in time. You know, back then I kind of was just like, oh, cool, Mulan's coming out. Now I look back on it, and that the meaning is so much more to me because you know back then I was like a punk kid, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go watch a Disney movie, and then, but now it's just like, okay, that movie did something. It was a movement, and the movement continues on with the live action Mulan that we're seeing today, and you guys are the pioneers of it, and you know you keep working, and you know you do so much for the Asian American community, Asian American community, and you know what, we just hope to continue to see more, and you know you uplift voices, and I hope that you know you enjoyed your time with me being a little you know
Yes.
being obnoxious. but
No,
thank you
you're
so
Not
much.
at all. No, not at
So
all.
fantastic.
Ray,
No.
stop don't be so Asian and put yourself down.
Hey,
Don't be so humble.
well, you know, I think we all echo the fact that if you do your work and long enough and good enough, something will happen. You know, it took me almost 70 years to arrive at this point. So, you know,
Aw.
take it from me. Just keep up your good work.
That's
Yeah. Like I was
That's-
just texting,
nice.
I was texting Ming because I mean, just what, a few days ago, I'm gonna like go off on this tangent, but it will come back to Mulan, I promise.
Okay.
I told her, okay, I fell into a BTS rabbit hole. I crawled out of it to watch Mulan, and I crawled back in. But this septet has done so much that a lot of other Asian performers have not been able to do. They debuted at #1 on the Billboard charts. It's like most views on YouTube for a music video. It's a group from South Korea who did this, and here it is. And then now Mulan is. It's like there's like this. There's a wave that it didn't. You know, there's a wave that began years and years and years ago, that is now making it possible for this K-pop group to be so successful. And it's like it's a pretty good time to be Asian right now. And given what's and you know, at the beginning of this pandemic, we were hearing stories about racism against Asians and Asian Americans. One of my friends got spat on her way to the post office, and for that group to do what they did with Dynamite, and for it to be such a beautiful response to what's happening, and for it to be such an anthem of positivity. And now here comes this movie, you know, which talks about family and bravery and truth and honor and all of that wonderful stuff. You know, I'm hoping that a lot of people get to watch it and see that, you know what, if there's anything that we are being taught by times like now, it's that we're not much different from one another. And there are so many universal truths that are in this movie that everybody will be able to relate to and take in. So it's
and I think that's really important. You know, that's why the arts are so important, because somehow that can transcend any racism, you know, that because it's about stories, and it's about learning from each other, And so I think the arts will always be important, whether it's music or film, or it's, you know, we need it more and more now. So,
and I like what Ming Na's text said. It's like, it's, you know, how we respond. It shows your character.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, this is how we are responding. We're responding as artists. We're responding as human beings. And, you know, if we can just get back to being human beings and showing one another that, you know what, there's so much more that makes us alike and different, then maybe, you know, and if, you know, and maybe these days won't be so divisive. And yeah.
Well, y'all, thank you so much for joining us for this panel on this wonderful Mulan release weekend. Ming-Na Wen, Lea Salonga, James Hong, legend, icons. Thank you guys so much for all you do and for all your work. And everyone, go watch Mulan again.
Yes! Yes. Thank you, Dino. Thank you, Goldhouse. Love you, Lea. Love you, James.
Thank you. Love you too.
This was so fun.
Oh, totally.
No song.